Hi, this is Kylie with Fem and Flow. I hope everyone's having a great day. On my last episode, specifically the episode titled Soul Embodiment and Other Esoteric Spiritual Knowledge, I briefly talked about how all original energy and therefore source energy is divine feminine energy. I said on that last podcast episode that divine masculine energy splits from divine feminine energy. This is how it works on a big picture scale. This is the macrocosm, and then there are microcosms of this relationship. You could also say the divine masculine is a fractal of the divine feminine, and they mirror each other. Here's how you can think about a fractal. You can keep zooming in closer and closer, and you see new pictures essentially, and you can do that for infinity. I'll get a lot more in depth on this, so if you don't totally comprehend it just yet, I get into it later. So I just said on the big picture, source energy or God energy is divine feminine, and then the divine masculine energy splits from the divine feminine energy and creates fractals. You can view this as a macrocosm, and then there are microcosms of this relationship. Each time you zoom in on a microcosm or a fractal, that then becomes the big picture. And then within that, there's a new microcosm and a new divine feminine and divine masculine relationship. That's how this works on a big picture scale for infinity. Some microcosms of this relationship include how on earth the woman's womb creates and carries child. The woman's womb on earth is a portal to what we call, quote unquote, the spiritual world. But, side note, what we call the spiritual world is actually more reality than this earth experience is. Technically, everything, all experiences separate from source energy or God energy are illusions. But in what we call, quote unquote, the spiritual world, we are all aware of the illusion and aware of our true connection to God or source energy. We understand that we are all fractals of God having unique experiences, and all of our experiences go back to God or source energy. We are all God or source energy translated into unique holy trinities, all with our unique bodies, consciousnesses, and soul, and we're all having unique experiences. But ultimately, we all go back to one. We all go back to God. What we often call the spiritual world is the same thing as the totally free realms or experiences that fully resonate with higher dimensional energies and are what we archetypally call heaven. We technically all are one, like I just said. We are source energy coming down into physical experiences or physical realms and exploring its own creation. This is harder to grasp while living in this black hole Earth experience that has duality. Here we experience a lot of division and lower vibe emotions, so we might think, what? How are we all one? But I truly think once you shift your perspective and realize what we're going through here with the black hole universe and duality, and truly understanding that, yes, even though we feel division here, we truly all are one and we all come from God. Once we truly understand this and shift our perspective, then we can view each other through a new lens. And instead of having a negative reaction, and if someone sends hate our way, we just have compassion and empathy and transmute that into love or understanding or compassion. But let's swing back to the microcosms I was just talking about. Another microcosm of the divine feminine and divine masculine relationship is Earth's geological processes. The Earth itself is often personified as feminine. We call the Earth Mother Earth or Mother Gaia. From Mother Gaia, mountains, rivers, and even the atmosphere emerge. These things I just mentioned can be associated with divine masculine energy due to their active and moving nature. This relationship reflects the idea of the masculine splitting or manifesting or being created from the feminine. And here is where we can really understand the concept of fractal patterns or the macrocosm versus microcosm relationship. Let's consider Mother Gaia. In the relationship of Mother Gaia and all of her inhabitants, including humans, on the macrocosm level, Mother Gaia is the divine feminine, and everything that utilizes her energy or is of action is the divine masculine. This divine masculine I speak of also includes humans. So that's one fractal of it. Mother Gaia is the divine feminine, and then all of her inhabitants are divine masculine. Then, when you click on Mother Gaia's inhabitants and we see biological life includes humans. Once we view it on this level, we see how life is created. The creation of life is the macrocosm, and the creation of life is divine feminine. And then you see the different genders when you look at the microcosm of it. Then you see the divine masculine. And I've mentioned on other episodes that no matter which gender we are, ideally we need to have a balance of both divine feminine and divine masculine energies. That will give us balance and harmony. So you can see here within humans, yes, there are divine feminine and divine masculine beings. Then also, ideally, we have a balance of divine feminine and divine masculine energies. You can also view this as a macrocosm level and a microcosm level. The macrocosm is how we should be a balance of both energies, and then the microcosm level is our gender. We are personified in this physical experience as either feminine or masculine. Then, when the feminine creates life, another being splits, and this fractal pattern continues. You can go down to mitosis of a cell or how cells divide to create new cells. This is the pattern. You could also think about it this way. Think about the cells of your body. Your body is made up of tons and tons of different cells. Perhaps they view your body as their whole universe. When you speak to your cells, they could view your voice as the voice of God. Do you see the macrocosm and microcosm relationship and how this fractal pattern that I'm talking about goes on for eternity? I mentioned this already, but source energy or God energy is divine feminine, and then masculine energy splits from that. Within this big pattern, we have fractal patterns or macrocosm and microcosm relationships. Like I pointed out, the macrocosm is divine feminine and the microcosm is divine masculine. But then as we dive in and zoom into each microcosm, that microcosm then becomes the macrocosm. This is kind of hard to explain, but the Mother Gaia and humanity example explains it well, I think. Now let's really dive into one of the microcosms of it all, which is how these divine feminine and divine masculine energies are personified. The divine feminine and divine energies are essentially avatars we can choose to have in every experience or realm. These energies are personified the same in different realms. The way in which these two energies come together or form a relationship in these different realms differs. That is up to the programming of the fourth dimension. This programming sets up the fairy tale land of the physical experience. In one episode, I said the original Earth experience was a love story because one of the original archetypes was the divine feminine and divine masculine energies coming together to form a sacred union. When the union comes together, it forms a powerful energy where the sum is greater than its parts. Then in some realms, you don't necessarily come into unions like this. You are more on a single mission, I guess you could say. Then divine feminine and divine masculine beings have relationships, but it's not the same kind of sacred union or long-term partnership we think of on Earth. But remember, in the heavenly realms, we get to pop around to whichever experiences we prefer and build eternal lives. We have multiple bodies or avatars. We aren't stuck to one finite life or one experience. Our separate bodies are all connected to our soul. So those bodies keep on living in those experiences, and then it's our consciousness that pops around. You could view these separate bodies as the cells that make up God or Source. Higher vibration cells are healthier cells, and these are the cells we want multiplying. Some cells die off, but we know nothing really dies because energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transmuted. So essentially, these low vibration or unhealthy cells die or get transmuted into new energy. So I mentioned before that all of our different avatars and all of our different experiences, specifically all of the information and knowledge we gather from each experience, all of that goes back to our one soul data bank. When we live high vibration lives and high vibration experiences, all of that information goes to our soul. And that is essentially a healthy soul. And healthy souls and healthy cells have new fractals or cells created from it. So essentially, we get more bodies to live in more experiences as we live high vibrational lives. You could view getting another body or avatar to live in another experience as a heavenly reward from achieving your mission on Earth. But you don't have to go into dualistic black hole experiences to get this reward. This follows the pattern and concept of a twin flame. Once a soul has so much experience, knowledge, and wisdom, a fractal breaks off, and there is the divine feminine and the divine masculine energies connected to one soul. Then both of these energies have their own bodies or avatars in the separate realms or experiences. Are you seeing this pattern I talk about? All is connected, all is one, everything is fractals of source. Source energy is feminine, but then fractals are created and the pattern goes on for infinity. Now let's swing back to how these divine feminine and divine masculine energies are personified in all the physical experiences. Like I mention often, under the false matrix on Earth, these truths have been scrambled and inverted. Following this would be very beneficial. I want to go on a little side note here because I think it's really important. Just because on Earth the divine feminine can have children, create life, and bring life into the world, that doesn't mean that is her purpose or her mission in any way. That is simply the inherent nature of feminine energy. In fact, childbirth is only a concept under the false matrix. In totally free realms, you don't create life this way. Childbirth can take a huge toll on the mother. If a woman wants to have a child, that is great. For some women, it could be part of their mission here. No woman should feel guilty, forced, or feel like she has to do this. For some women, having a child could actually hinder her mission on Earth. When you have a child, tons of your energy goes towards the child. If your mission is to tap in, receive divine insight, receive divine guidance, or share messages, etc., that takes a ton of energy and a ton of time in solitude. So if that's your mission, it probably does not align with having children. I mentioned this on other episodes, but the divine feminine energy is the energy that goes within, that connects to intuition, higher guidance, and deals more in the spiritual unseen realm. The divine feminine can be a huge source of guidance and information that comes directly from source energy. There's a lot of archetypes we hear about that relates to this energy, and that's divine priestess, oracles, sages. So if we want to turn this universe from a black hole universe to a white hole universe, we really do need divine feminines. We need to change how society operates. Our society is very focused on the material world, and dealing in the material world is aligns with the divine masculine. The dark global elite has set it up so the divine feminine energy is suppressed, and the society is run and operated and glorifies male traits. All of this leads to the false matrix being continued and focus very much put on the material world. And part of that is because we operate with money and we have to hold down careers and jobs and be in our doing to receive money to simply live in this experience. How society is set up under this false matrix really pushes to keep people more in their masculine energy and turn off their feminine energy, because simply to survive and pay for your life here, you need to be in masculine traits. So to get out of this false matrix and to return to heaven on earth, we really need people doing their spiritual work and the divine feminine stepping into their power. But to come into union, it takes more than just the divine feminine in her power. It takes the divine masculine doing his spiritual work and stepping into his divine essence as well. And if you listen to my other episodes, I talk about this a lot. But we really need to work on healing our nervous system. We need to spend time in solitude, spend time in nature. We need to meditate so we can get our brainwaves in theta. All of this stuff takes a lot of solitude, a lot of alone time, a lot of introspection. So this might not correlate to having children, because children take a lot of your energy, a lot of your time, and you often don't have much alone time. So my point of this, back to what I said in the beginning of my side note, is just because women can have children doesn't mean we should feel forced to, or that it's our job or our mission in any way. But like I already said, if you feel very called to have children and you really want to, then that is great. I do think having children is part of some women's mission. And these children who are being born should be absolutely revered and cherished. A lot of love should be poured into these children, not only from their own family, but from society and their community. We need to raise little dragon slayers. I saw a quote and it talked about how don't apologize for raising dragon slayers in a time where there are actual dragons. So, yeah, I think it absolutely could be part of someone's mission to have children and then raise these children in an amazing spiritual way, where these children learn much more than just the indoctrination they receive in the education system. And if you think about everything that would go into raising a child like this, yes, this is a lot of work and absolutely a mission here. So wherever you fall on the spectrum, if you truly want children and feel that's part of your mission, or you don't really feel called to that, either way, it's great. I am just saying we should not feel forced or like we need to just because it aligns with us biologically. This spiritual path of truth is extremely nuanced, and I see a lot of people arguing on social media about both sides, but a lot of the arguments fall into the dualistic trap, which is truly black and white thinking. On one side, you see people saying the greatest accomplishment and greatest purpose for a woman on earth is to have children and be a mother. And then on the other side, you see people saying women's empowerment is them freely having sex with whoever, getting abortions when they want, and then just going after a career or being very career minded. I think both sides are wrong. The truth is nuanced and the truth lies in the middle. And honestly, to find this truth, you must go down the spiritual path. You must seek the truth within your own heart. You will not find the answers in our popular current society. But I'll end that tangent there. Now we'll get back to these energies personified. First off, remember we should all have a balance of divine feminine and divine masculine energies, no matter which we symbolize or personify via our body. Like I said, this is the macrocosm versus microcosm relationship. The traits of the energy apply to both levels, but may be expressed differently depending on which archetype you symbolize, man or woman. On the big picture, the divine feminine energy is quote unquote being, while divine masculine is quote unquote doing. Feminine is introspection, while masculine is action. Feminine protects in the spiritual, while masculine protects in the physical. Feminine is creation, while masculine is invention. Feminine nurtures, while masculine provides. Feminine is intuition, divine guidance, and higher connection, all from her going within into her inner world, while masculine is strategy, logic, and navigation in the outer physical material world. As you can see, there is a yin and yang relationship, and when these two energies come together in union, there is balance and harmony that goes along with God's divine order. Two energies come together to create one, and these two energies in union have a sum greater than its two parts. By understanding these different characteristics, you can see how source energy or God energy would be associated with divine feminine energy. If we think of it in terms of dimensional energy, eighth dimension energy is God or source energy, and it's the 8 solfeggio frequencies all in a beautiful harmonic resonance, and we can view this harmonic resonance as the voice of God. This is the highest vibrational energy there is, and is pure light. This comes out of the 9th dimension, which is a white or black hole that creates a universe. This comes from a point of singularity. Source or God energy just is. It is all. It makes up all there is. It is in the being aspect. Then, once this pure source energy steps down into the 7th dimension, and this energy becomes sound vibrations, you could view this as action. Then that energy moves into quote unquote doing. 8th dimension, God energy, pure source energy is divine feminine, while dimensions 7 through 1 could be viewed as divine masculine because pure source energy has stepped down into action. But like I mentioned, everything is fractals and in a macrocosm and microcosm relationship. And by this, I mean you see a big picture, but then once you zoom in, you see another picture, and you can keep zooming in for infinity. On the big picture, we see source or God as divine feminine, and all energy that steps down into the lower dimensions as divine masculine, because that is pure source energy or God energy in action. Then when we zoom into this and zoom into the divine masculine aspect, that becomes the new big picture. And then we see another divine feminine and divine masculine relationship. Let's swing back to the Mother Gaia example I gave. In that example, I was talking about how Mother Gaia, or the earth, was the divine feminine and the macrocosm, while all geological processes on earth were the divine masculine, because that was action and movement. But when we zoom out to a view of the different dimensions 1 through 9, then Mother Gaia would be categorized under the 3rd dimension, which is a physical dimension. And I just said that on this big picture level, when we zoom out and view the different dimensions, then the 8th dimension, which is God or source energy, is the divine feminine energy, while dimensions 7 through 1 are the divine masculine. So this really shows how this relationship works. Because when we zoom into a specific physical experience that would fall under 3rd dimensional energy, then we choose a specific realm, and in this case we are looking at Mother Gaia, Then we see a new macrocosm and microcosm relationship. I think that gives a very good example of how this works. You may have heard that we are currently in the age of enlightenment, the golden age, or in the age of the return of the divine feminine. This is all true. The return of the divine feminine also means the return to humanity fully resonating with eighth dimensional source or God energy. The return of the divine feminine is synonymous with the return of heaven on earth. In a previous episode, I talked about how Satanism isn't worshiping a red man in a cape with horns. Satanism is taking what is natural and aligned with God's divine order and inverting it. God's divine order is what I talk about when I explain the dimensional energies and how all of that works. As you can see, a society or physical experience that suppresses the divine feminine and is ruled by the masculine is an inversion. We need both the divine feminine and divine masculine working together in leadership, harmony, and balance. This does not mean we need women living more in her divine masculine energy to succeed in the corporate world, compete, or achieve financially. All of that is very short-sighted and is just focused on the material world. All that does is help this false matrix control system continue on. We need both men and women to truly step into their divine feminine and masculine energies. Just because someone is a woman doesn't mean she is in her divine feminine essence, and same with men. These are spiritual pursuits. We need to step away from duality and blame. We need to stop blaming the other gender, and we need to tap into our spirituality, release trauma, and grow so we can truly step into our divine aspect. Once we step into our own divine aspect, then we can come together in union. And remember that union is between a divine feminine and divine masculine. Society needs to realize and accept there is much more than the material world. There is an entire quantum universe, the unseen. There's a quote by Nikola Tesla that says, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence." I have 2 other podcast episodes related to this topic. There's an episode on divine feminine and divine masculine energies, and then there's another episode on sacred unions. The episode on sacred unions goes over what it looks like when these two energies come together to create a beautiful synergy. And I also talk more about how the archetype of a divine union was one of the original archetypes on Earth before the fourth dimension was hijacked. That's all I have for today. If you want more related information, definitely go listen to those other 2 episodes I mentioned. If you like this, please share with a friend and give me a 5-star review. Also, subscribe so my episodes pop up in your feed every week. I love you all. Have a great week.